What's going on, guys? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. And, since I'm a finance professor and I've been teaching finance for a long time, people ask me a little bit about what's going on with Howard Universities. In case you haven't noticed, Howard University is in a crazy situation where Betsy DeVos, the head of the education department, put them on a special list. And this is a almost like a financial watch list, basically, where the federal government kind of really watches your money. They get deeply involved in terms of making sure there's no financial misappropriation, things like that. Now, on one hand, we know Trump and his band of white boys that, we know that they don't like black folks. That's in terms of they don't have a special love for HBCUs. Let me say that. In terms of whether, they hate black people, I don't know. I know they don't like illegal immigration. I don't know if that means they hate black people too. I just know that they are conservatives, and conservatives tend to not. They don't tend to like things like HBCUs and stuff like that. So I'm not a big fan of the Trump administration or anything like that. But what's interesting is that what's kind of happened is that because Howard has made some really bad financial mistakes, they've sort of gotten this special attention from the government that they do not want. Right now, the government on the special watch list, where I think there's like level 1 and level 2. On level 2, I don't think that there are any. I have to look up the designation, but I don't think that there are any other HBCUs or major universities on this list. The schools that kind of get on this list tend to be like beauty schools and stuff like that. And on this list, what they basically stated is that instead of the government giving you the funds to pay financial aid for the students, you actually have to pay out the financial aid and then seek a reimbursement. That's huge. That's an access to capital issue because it makes a big difference whether you get the money first and then you pay it out, or if you pay it out and then you get the money back. Like if you got a job, you'd rather have them give you the money in advance than to go out and spend the money and then get a reimbursement. You may not have that money to spend. Well, Howard doesn't have that money to spend because Howard has been financially strapped for a long time. How do I feel about Howard? I think Howard, is a storied institution. It has its good points. My experience with Howard was not good. It was kind of a hot mess, similar to what a lot of stories are with Howard. When I went to Howard, I was supposed to go and do an event there. We arranged with some people from the student body to do an event on their campus, and it was during Farrakhan's anniversary for the Million Man March. So over 1,000 people came to come out and see me speak. And I thought we were kind of doing Howard, a favor. Like, oh, look, all these people are going to come to your campus, and it's going to be this great black event. And I think that because academia tends to be so insulated from the rest of the world, they thought maybe I would attract 40 people or 50 people, but they didn't know I'd bring like a couple thousand people or however many were there. There were a lot of people there. So instead of like just letting us have the auditorium, which I think was available that day, they just put a sign up on the door and said the event's been canceled. Didn't call me, didn't tell my team, didn't tell anybody. So we lost thousands of dollars. It was very embarrassing. A lot of people were very upset because people had flown from across the country to be at this event. And since that time, I just have always said, I don't really think I want to do anything with Howard, because it seemed like every time I wanted to do something with the institution, something weird would happen. I'll give you another example. I had wanted to teach at Howard a long time ago, and a lady reached out to me about teaching at Howard. And let's say at Syracuse, my salary was $115,000 a year, something like that. The lady offered me like $35,000 a year to live in DC, where the cost of living is higher than it is in Syracuse, and I would be doing more work. And they didn't want me to do my extra stuff to make extra money. So I was like, how can I go teach at HBCU if y'all making it so hard? Because I know for a fact that there are Asians and Arabs in the business school who make over $100,000 a year. But, I think they just, for whatever reason, didn't see the value there. And it's fine, but it's just, the offer didn't make any sense. When I was in graduate school, I had a colleague where we all went on the job market at the same time. She really wanted to teach at Howard. And basically the way the job market works in academia is you go out and you do your initial interviews like at a conference. Then they invite you in for a campus visit, and then they decide if they want to bring you in again, and then they decide if they want to hire you. Well, she had gone to the conference, done all the interviews, went on some campus visits, gotten several offers, and that was before Howard even called her back to say, we want to do the first interview with you. So basically, All the other schools had done all their interviews. They'd done 3, 4 interviews with her already, or 2 or 3 at least. And Howard was just getting around to doing the first one. And that's even back then we were kind of like, this school's a little ghetto. Like they're a little bit sloppy and ratchet with how they get stuff done. So, when I heard about the controversy that got them in trouble with the financial aid, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised at all. Basically, they had a bunch of employees in the financial aid office who were stealing money, who were taking the money that was coming in and they were somehow putting it in their pocket. I don't know how they did it, but they ended up stealing about $350,000, and that got the attention of the federal government and the media and the student body. The students were protesting. They wanted the president out. It became a big mess. And now we are where we are right now. If you want to know the amount of money that's on the line when it comes to Howard Financial Aid, I saw a figure that was about $31 million. And I think that's going to be an insurmountable hurdle for them to overcome. Now, does that mean Howard's going to shut down? I don't think so. I don't know. I know that there are solutions. You got celebrities out here, Oprah and people like that could write big checks really fast if they wanted to. And as much as people, want to talk smack about Bill Cosby, remember Bill Cosby gave, what was it, 20 million to Spelman back in the 1980s. Black celebrities have not come close to that. So I would say that maybe, sometimes when one party breaks your plate and stops feeding you, it's an opportunity for you to feed yourself, so maybe this issue with the federal government is an opportunity for the African American community to step up and to provide the funding necessary to get these kids through school. Because as much as I've had my issues with Howard, the school has done some good things. I wouldn't. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't send my child there. I'd be a little nervous because I just keep hearing these very strange stories kind of coming out of it. And I remember when I was there in DC and I saw this big mural of Abraham Lincoln. So it kind of reminds me of like this sort of school that was built for slaves in a way, former slaves. Like we want to educate black people to come work for white people. Back in, I think Howard University was named after a general who was one of the people that went and helped clear out the Native Americans off their land and all that stuff. So Howard, if I'm not mistaken, is not named after a black person. It's named after a white person. And so I have mixed feelings about all of that, right? It's not enough for me to say, oh, I don't like Howard. It's not enough for me to say I love the school either. I don't know. I don't know. But I will say that for those who care about Howard, the black community can raise 30 million in no time. I mean, especially if you're talking about money that would be paid out and then reimbursed by the government anyway. You get 10 NBA players, they can give you $30 million pretty quick. The black community, I think we probably spent $400 or $500 million going to see the Black Panther. So the black community could afford this. I don't think that they will. I don't think black people will really step up like that. Although it would be nice if they did. I think also with Howard though, I think the idea too is I think HBCUs got to get their shit together. I mean, sure, you could point out Trump and Davos and, they're annoying white people, but there are annoying white people all the time. What I've noticed is that it seems that HBCUs are kind of always behind the 8 ball, no matter who's in office. When Obama was in office, they were mad at Obama because Obama was kind of, shoving them to the side. And I think a lot of people on both sides of the aisle have little respect for HBCUs, mainly because these institutions are not efficiently run. Their models of education are a little bit antiquated, sloppy, stodgy. Morehouse College, distinguished school, with much respect. But they too, had this weird issue where they had a really dynamic president there. I think his name was John Wilson. And they had this board where everybody was more concerned about their power, preserving their power, than doing what's best for the school. So in a lot of ways, some of the HBCUs operate like old churches or like the NAACP. The NAACP is another organization that can't do nothing because they got this stupid board. So I don't know. I'm not going to say what should or should not happen with HBCUs, but I can say when we founded the Black Business School, we created the Black Business School as a low-cost, higher-quality alternative to what HBCUs offer. We said, look, you're going to have black professors. Even some HBCUs, you can go to like the science department and a lot of parts of the business school and not find a single African-American professor. When I interviewed at, I think it was North Carolina Central, they did not have a single African-American male professor in the entire business school. So you would think this is an HBCU. You're making money off African-American males. You got African-American males on your football team. You got African-American males in the classroom. Why would you not have African-American males that are teaching the classes. Do we think that black males are not smart enough? There are plenty of black males who could be teaching there. Well, in the Black Business School, we have several black males that teach in our school. Myself, Julian Gordon, who graduated from Stanford University, who's an entrepreneurship expert. Demario Solomon Simmons, who's a very distinguished, respected attorney out of Oklahoma. I would almost say that maybe when it comes to education, I would be really careful about all of this, in terms of not so much me giving you a specific recommendation on how you pursue it, and what you should want. I can't tell you that. But I would certainly tell you that at the very least, what you do want is you want to be smart and you want to be aware. You can't just do everything the way somebody did it in 1988. So if I'm sending my child to college, number one, I'm not going to spend $60,000-$70,000 a year for you to go to school. I think Howard's tuition is insanely high. I mean, it's so ridiculously high, people can't afford it. I wouldn't be doing that. I'm not, I'd either position my child early to make good grades so they get good scholarships, which means shifting the culture. Black culture is not built around education in most households. If we valued education as much as we value basketball, football, and rapping and everything else, we'd be really good at it, but we don't. We don't value that. So our kids stumble in with mediocre test scores, mediocre grades, and we're mad because we want to blame white people because white people aren't educating our children and blah, blah, blah. Well, it's not really their job. They built those schools for white people. They did not build those schools for you. They just let you in because you begged to them to open the door. Really, you should be educating your own children. Asian people educate their own kids. That's why their kids are like getting top test scores and perfect SATs and all this other stuff. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean they don't go to school with the white kids, but after they go home, they go back and get more education, or they get put in special places where they can get top quality education as opposed to just whatever white people throw at them. And so, I think that the cost of college is too high. I think that what they're learning is wrong. The best entrepreneur I've ever seen out of Howard University is Sharif Abdul Malik. Sharif runs WeBuyBlack.com. And Sharif said that, he went to the business school. He was in social work or something. And he went to the business school. He said, man, none of these people knew how to run a business. So, if you got this great business school and you're charging people $60,000 a year, why wouldn't they learn? Everybody should just, as a basic, premise, just for being black, should learn how to start a business venture, because that's what the black community needs. We need job creators. We don't need more black people working for white people, because white people will never hire every black person in America. They will not do that. White people don't have the capacity nor the desire to hire every black person in America. So when all you're doing is you're training black people, you're having them go $60,000 a year in debt so they can learn how to go work for white people, you're creating a space for one successful Negro to get one job where he spends his whole life pissed off because he's not getting the same opportunities as a white boy next to him. But when you create entrepreneurs, you're creating hundreds and dozens and even hundreds of successful black people, because that black entrepreneur that goes to the hood and starts a business can go employ dozens of people. You're changing dozens of lives and not just one. So I'm not a fan. Don't get me wrong. I know education like the back of my hand. I was in school way too long. I taught on college campuses for 25 years. I had thought about this for decades. And I just think that, we end up in these bad situations because we go about it the wrong way. Howard is screwed because Howard is a preeminent black institution that is dependent upon white people for its survival. When white people stop funding it, then all your shit is gone. Same thing is true, when I was talking to my homeboy, Daryl Bell, who used to be on A Different World. Daryl played Ron, Dwayne Wayne's best friend. He kind of brought it to my attention that A Different World, is loved in the black community. Like, we feel like it's ours, it's our show, and it's our favorite, and blah, blah, blah. And that show's owned by Warner Brothers. So the reason Different World can't go out is because you don't own it. Like, Warner Brothers owns it. They're like, we're going to own this thing and create it and make black people watch it and get them all in love with it. And then we're going to torture these people because we're going to control something that they love. And so basically the reason you don't see A Different World on TV is not because the actors don't want to do a reboot. It's because white people own this shit. Black people don't. Do you know that Whitley Gilbert doesn't even own the rights to even use her own voice? Like, she can't even imitate. Jasmine Guy cannot even imitate the Whitley Gilbert accent without possibly being sued. So I just think when I saw that thing with Howard, I said, yeah, those white people, they coming to get them. White people only build, they don't, for black people, if you want to build a race car to try to win the race, you can't get that race car from white people, because white people will never build you a race car that will defeat them. They will only give you a covered wagon that they drag along. A wagon can never beat the car that's in front of the wagon. Does that make sense? A wagon will never outrun the car that is pulling the wagon. And when the car decides not to pull the wagon anymore, the wagon is on the side of the road. Why? Well, because black people don't know how to develop economic engines, and they're not learning these things at places like Howard University. I'm not dissing Howard. I'm not saying there aren't any entrepreneurs that come out of Howard. I'm sure there's plenty. But Howard's not known for producing black entrepreneurs. They're known for producing black people who go work for white people. That's just the real. That's just the honest to God truth. So, I hope Howard works through this. I think celebrities could help them out of this. But, unfortunately, unless they change the culture, you got a scandal today, this year, with the financial aid being stolen. You're gonna have another one next year. You'll always have these institutions that were developed by white people to educate black people, but black people think that we own them, and these institutions will run into one tragedy after the next because they're not built to be race cars. They're built to be covered wagons that are being dragged by white institutions, who therefore get to decide when they're going to stop dragging them. That's why Howard University is fucked. Excuse me. That's why, I hope they work through this. I really do. I have no hard feelings about the stupid stuff that they did to embarrass themselves when we had our event there, 3-4 years ago. But I would just say, this is not the first time nor the last time. They're going to have these ridiculous situations. And until you learn how to get off the white man's nipple, you'll never have any power. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Have a good day. Speaking of black power, we're working right now. We have scientists working to develop true black power, true black economic engines, true black political engines and systems and everything else. This all happens. A lot of this goes down at the All Black National Convention. So if you'd like to come and join us in Philadelphia the weekend of September 27th, visit allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. You can also watch it via live stream. This is the epicenter of black intelligence right now. This is where we're building an entire future for black people where we have the control, we have the power. I'll be there. Dr. Claude Anderson, author of Powernomics, will be there. Kenny Gamble of Gamble and Huff, who created the whole Philadelphia sound, created a whole music industry in Philadelphia. He's co-sponsoring it with me. Jay Morrison from the Tulsa Fund, who just raised $12 million to buy black real estate all throughout the world. He'll be there to talk about how he did that. We're going to have black attorneys there, like Nicole Compton, who will also be teaching black people how to start businesses. We're going to have Julian Gordon there, who's a Stanford Business School expert. We're going to have discussions on everything from cryptocurrency to black relationships to all kinds of stuff. Just all different kinds of people. Michael Imhotep from the African History Network, he'll be there as well. You should check it out. This is the solution. The solution is not like, I hope white people write us another check. That solution is not only is it temporary, but it's usually not going to work, and it doesn't give you power. We're looking for other sources of black power that allow us to truly have our own ecosystems. And that's what we're all about. That's what we teach in the Black Business School. That's what our PhDs and JDs teach in that school. And it costs you about $3 a day. So feel free to go check out theblackbusinessschool.com. That's theblackbusinessschool.com. If you want to follow me via text message, I'll send you text alerts, things like that. Whenever I go live and stuff like that on Dr. Boyce TV, you can actually text the word Boyce to 31996. That's text the word Boyce to 31996. I'm out of here, guys. Have a good day. I think I'm going to go take me a nap. I'll see you soon. Peace.